Welcome back. Several cancer drugs, antibiotics and vaccines are set to become cheaper. The price reduction comes as new medicines have been added to the national list of essential medicines. 34 new medicines have been added to the list, bringing them under a price cap decided by the government. Four major anti-cancer drugs and several anti-infectives like ivermectin and mupirocin have been added to that list. The total number of drugs in the new list now is 384 as compared to 376 earlier. So how is this beneficial and whether more such medicines need to be on that list? Joining us right now to discuss this is Dr. Anil Tekwani, Director and Head of Oncology at Sharda Hospital in Greater Noida. Thank you very much, Doctor, for speaking to us this afternoon. Four major anti-cancer drugs have been added to the essential medicines list. You are a cancer specialist. Do you welcome this move, and how much were these drugs costing earlier? What are they likely to cost now?
Providing me the opportunity to talk on this show. So basically, a very good afternoon to all of you. Basically, you know that not only the anti-cancerous drug, but other drugs. So they are, the cost is to be divided by the government organization. And I think that cost, which was previously there, so it was a bit costly. So I welcome this move, the government, to cut down the cost of this medicine. But as we know that whenever we take some step, there are some advantages and disadvantages of everything. So the advantages of this thing, that it will be made available to poor people also, so that they can be getting the proper treatment of the cancer. But the disadvantages are some major, basically, like suppose there's a cost of the drug. So most of the time, most of the part of that is being spending on the research and development of that drug, which is really very important. If we don't do research, we won't be able to develop new drugs. And as we know, in the cancer, every day new discoveries are being done and new drugs are being discovered, and which are more targeted, which are more beneficial, more effective in the cancer. So if we don't do the research and development, the things, I think that it will be very difficult for us to treat the upcoming cancers, upcoming new targets which are being discovered. So this is the main thing which I would like to tell.
But Dr. Thakwani, where do you strike a balance there? This is an interesting point you raised about the pharma companies investing lots of money in research, and where will that money come from if there is a price cap on these medicines? But where do you strike this balance? As you said, putting these drugs in essential medicines list, making them affordable, does help more and more people avail specialized healthcare. So where do you strike the balance there?
So what we can do, see, basically, if the drug companies, they are spending a lot we know that research and development. So we can divide the drugs, as government has already been done. So we can divide the drugs into generic drugs and the drug from the company. So it's up to the patient to buy, because you know that if the drug has been made from some that type of company which has developed the drug, so definitely the quality, and if it is a bit costly, definitely the quality of the drug will be better as compared to the generic one. So what we can do is that we can divide, which the government has done. So we can divide the generic shops and the branded shop, and we can continue like selling the drugs by the company, branded companies, and from the generic. So the people who are poor, they can buy it from the generic one, and branded companies should continue selling their drugs. So this is what I can say. So both the things, by doing this, we're helping the poor also. Nobody will be nobody will be there who will not get the drug. So generic drug will be given to the poor, and the branded drugs to the people who can afford.
Doctor, I want to talk to you about another concern here. Not just anti-cancer drugs, as you said, there are antibiotics, there's endocrine medicines and contraceptives that have been made more affordable. So some of this is a good welcome step because more and more people can now have specialized healthcare. But is there a concern that cheaper drugs and wide availability means that it could be used for illnesses or prescribed for illnesses or issues which are milder and not necessarily require that sort of medication?
Basically, we have already made the system like when the drug is discovered, we allow the company to sell it on the higher rates for a certain period of time till they get their return, which they have spent from the research and the development. So after a certain duration, we allow other companies also, like patent is there for a limited period. So we allow other companies also to manufacture the drug. So automatically the cost goes down. And after like a year or 2 years or a second year, all the companies are allowed to make the drug. So it becomes generic one. So I think that this is the right approach for few years, 1 to 2 years, which is decided by the government or health people of our country. So for a particular time, they should be allowed to sell their medicine. And after that, once they come out from the research and development, whatever they have spent, then that drug should be made generic, and it should be sold at a lower cost. So in this way, we will be helping the branded company for the research and development also, and then later on, the poor people can also take advantage of that drug.
Dr. Thakwani, you are an oncologist. You know, 4 anti-cancer drugs have been put in this list where there will be a price cap now. Do you think there are more drugs, anti-cancer drugs, which should be made more affordable for people?
Yes. See, basically now there are a lot of, as I told you, daily we are discovering new drugs. We are discovering new targets. So earlier, a cancer was to be treated only by the chemotherapy. But now as we are doing research and as we are discovering new things, now the different other type of medicines, which comes under the category of like hormone therapy, like the targeted therapy, like the immunotherapy. So these all other drugs which are still very costly, and I think the government should target these type of drugs also, because now, like if we are using immunotherapy, so at certain stage, when we have used all the chemotherapies, we have used hormone therapies, we have used target therapies, then there comes a role of immunotherapy. So now, after using all the generic drugs, now patient has no other option except to use for this, go for the use of this immunotherapy. So I think that these are the latest drugs, and government should help the people. Already government is already helping, like the present government has just applied that what we call it Ayushman Bharat scheme. So I'm treating a lot of patients under Ayushman Bharat scheme, and government is providing the medicines free to the patients, all the patients who are poor, whom they have provided that Ayushman card. So this is really a welcome step which is taken by the government, and these type of activities can be done by the government so that poor patients should also get the latest drugs.
All right, Dr. Anil Thakwani, thanks very much for speaking to us and sharing your perspective on this story. So multiple drugs have been put in the essential medicines list, which will now invite a price cap on those medicines. Some of them anti-cancer drugs, 4 of them important major anti-cancer drugs. Thanks very much, Dr. Thakwani, indeed, for joining us. We are stopping for a short break, but on the other side, we'll get you the